Council's vote. I will ask if a citizen or council member wishes to have any specific item removed from the consent agenda for discussion after reading the list. A, approval of the council special meeting minutes for June 5th, 2025, the council workshop meeting and agenda minutes for June 10th, 2025, and the council work session / special meeting minutes for June 17th, 2025. B, approval of the expenditure list for July 8th, 2025. C, approval of a renewal application for a hotel and restaurant liquor license and outdoor dining license agreement for Blondie's Trophy Room LLC, DBA Blondie's Trophy Room, located at 45 East Main Street, Cortez. D, approval of a renewal application for an arts liquor license and outdoor dining license agreement for the Community Radio Project, Inc., DBA KSJD, located at 2/8 East Main Street, Cortez. E, approval of a renewal application for a hotel and restaurant liquor license for Me Mexico Mexican Food LLC, DBA Me Mexico, located at 801 East Main Street, Cortez. F, approval of a renewal application for a hotel and restaurant liquor license for Cashmeen LLC, DBA Lots of Pasta and That's a Pizza, located at 925 South Broadway, Cortez. G, approval of a renewal application for a fermented malt beverage and wine liquor license from Western Refining Retail LLC, DBA Speedway number 9499, located at 921 East Main Street, Cortez. And H, approval of a special event permit for the Cortez Area Chamber of Commerce to host a business after hours on July 10th, 2025 from 4 to 8 p.m. on the premises of the Cortez Area Chamber of Commerce, located at 20 West Main Street, Cortez. Would anyone like to see an item removed for discussion?
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Dobry and seconded by Lewis.
Spruill,
Yes.
Randall, Lewis,
Aye.
DeHaven, Dobry,
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. All right, we're going to move on to number 3 on our agenda, public participation. There's no limit to the number of speakers, although public comment will be held to an overall time limit of 30 minutes. Speakers have a time limit of 3 minutes per person, may only speak once, and may not cede time to another commenter. All right, no comment cards tonight. Anyone in the public who didn't fill one out but still wants to speak? All right, seeing none, we'll close our public participation section and we'll move on to 4 on our agenda. Number 4 is presentations. 4A is the oath of office for City Clerk Danielle Wells and Finance Director Randy Bailey, presented by Deputy City Clerk Linda Smith.
And Randy, who just joined us from finance. So if I can give you your oath of office, we're going to have you read them together. So if you'll raise your right hand, please. I,
Danielle Wells,
Randy Bailey, do hereby promise and affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the
Constitution of the State of Colorado, and the Cortez City Charter, ordinances, and resolutions, and that I will faithfully perform the duties of Finance Director to the best of my ability.
Welcome both of you to the Cortez team. Okay, we're going to move on to 4B on our agenda, the Cortez 140th Anniversary Commemorative Logo Competition Results, presented by Community and Economic Development Specialist Helen West.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Did I do a presentation correctly? Is it going to go on the screen? I may need help. I never remember how to make this work.
but it's not mirrored. Can I make it mirror, or if I just hit slideshow? Oh, it is. Yeah, that's what it was.
All right, so I've already presented on this a couple times, but flashing up on your screen are all of the submissions that were Given as applicants for the commemorative logo competition, this of course is a logo competition that the Arts Committee and Historic Preservation and CREA and our events coordinator all kind of thought of and put together. We got over 10 submissions from several different community members, some who have lived here before and moved away, some who still live here, and just I am continually impressed by the amount of talent that we have in our community here. And I have a couple of our folks that submitted logos tonight, so I was hoping that they would maybe come up and just, if everyone can give them applause, because they did great. So we have Silas Eckert here. Stand up. That second place prize is Silas, and then Leonard LaPaz. I hope I'm saying your names correctly. I'm sorry. And so it was really fun. All of these logos are of, you can see them on our, and I stopped sharing, you can see them on our website. And then the winning logo is downloadable in several different formats. We are encouraging businesses to use those logos in their own promotional materials for the 250th, 140th anniversary of Cortez. I will also be sending those logos in various formats to Brand Central and Pioneer, so businesses don't even need to download them. They can just go say, hey, I want to put this on my business. And there will be some brand kind of guidelines. Obviously, we want to represent the city well and our community well. Cool. Yeah, so that's it. That's just, and then this is the final version. So this that you can see right now. So the star, just for kind of clarification, is approximately where the city of Cortez is, and that outline is the shape of Colorado. So kind of a fun little tidbit about that. Yeah.
Well, and Dennis, you were on the selecting committee. How was that?
It was great. There's backstories, and I was really wishing she would have the guys tell the backstories. Inside all of these pictures is a reason it looks the way it does.
And Dennis, we can invite them back up.
I would love for them to do that. I think it's very interesting.
Would you mind explaining your logos to people since it's a shorter meeting tonight, I guess?
Is it possible to pause your presentation on?
It is.
Okay. Great.
Speak right into this mic.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Silas Eckhart.
Almost there.
Yeah, no worries. Well, so I grew up in Cortez. I was born and raised here. Moved to Durango, where actually Leonard's my business partner, and we started a graphic design company. So my logo, I was really just trying to capture everything I remember growing up in Cortez. So I had, yeah, no worries. So I had a lot of friends that were into farming and ranching who I helped out all the time. We'd help with irrigation and, of course, cattle and all that. Of course, Mesa Verde, one of my best friends, was deeply involved with Mesa Verde. His mom worked there, and we spent a lot of time up there. Of course, the city council building, had to throw that in there. And then the plateau outside of town, because I think that's just recognizable, something that anybody who's visited Cortez or has grown up here would recognize. Then, of course, I wanted to, part of the prompt was Colorado being 150 years old, America being 250, and the city of Cortez being 140. So I tried to incorporate that as best as I could without taking up too much space. And as you can see, that's what I came up with.
Nice. You did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate the opportunity that this is put out there, and it's cool to do something for my hometown. So thanks to all of you, and Helen, of course.
And Dennis, I will doctor up and make sure all the punctuation is correct, but I'll put that online so that people can see the explanations with the artwork. So no problem. And I'll show the downloadable link again. Do you want to invite Leonard up to explain his design? I figured out how to pause. It's up to you. I know you guys
Yeah.
are busy.
Yeah, so first I'd like to thank everybody for this opportunity. I had a lot of fun with this, me and Cy both. We worked together, and I also grew up here in Cortez. And this logo I put together because I think it really kind of just represents where we're at. I also grew up in Cortez, and a lot of the things I remember growing up with was like the history, like growing up in this area that was so well known for like being the hometown of the, well, for me and also for like ancestral Puebloans. That's why I have the arrowhead. Also the plateau there, that's just the iconic view from Cortez. The Cocopelli there also just represents like the fertility, like I was saying, with the agriculture and everywhere here in Cortez. That's such a pride for us here in Cortez. I have the established 1886 because that's when Cortez was established, and we have such rich history here. So just really glad I was able to participate in this and had a lot of fun with this, and I think we both enjoyed the opportunity. So thank you all.
Great, thank you.
So yeah, so government is sometimes really enjoyable. So thank you, Dennis, for partaking in that. We had a fun conversation.
Great. Thank you, Helen, for putting this together. I mean, we clearly have a really talented artist here, and I think it was a fun opportunity to see all of the different ideas that are out there. I mean, I would take each one of these as a sticker. So, so thank you, Helen.
And just on that note, the city does own, like, we made them sign things that we can post stuff. But if anyone likes that logo that the city is, we chose our commemorative logo that we'll kind of use and encourage our businesses to use in this Memorial Year. But if anyone wants to contact, I'm sure, our other logo submissions to create a similar logo or possibly use that logo, I would assume that you can reach out to those people directly, barring any nods from our city manager that I'm breaking regulation. No? Okay.
Okay. All right. Any other comments from council, or should we move on to 4C on our agenda, the proclamation for America 2050, Colorado 150, and Cortez 140. And are you reading that?
You're going to read it, I think, if you don't mind, but do you want me to give a little background?
Okay. I don't have a printed copy.
I can also read it.
I can read it
if you want. Okay. We do have a pretty printed copy. I apologize to all those looking online that won't be able to see the pretty printed copy, but I'll put it online. So just a little background again. America is turning 250 years old with recognition. Of course, that the United States, the history of the United States and the people of the United States of America go much beyond that 250th anniversary. But our country became a country 250 years ago, starting in 2026. The state of Colorado also was designated as a state about 150 years ago in the 2026 year, again recognizing that history stretches much beyond before the United States of America was even a dream. And then Cortez was platted in 1886, pretty close to Christmas actually, so at the very end. America, the country, and Colorado, the state, are really trying to push cultural heritage, historic preservation, just acknowledgement of our history, but also tourism around our state, encouraging residents of the state of Colorado to visit other parts of the state in this Memorial Year. And so Cortez is really trying to capitalize on that. We're 140 years old as a platting of a city. Also, Mesa Verde is turning 120 as a national park. So there's a lot of things, and we want to encourage our fellow Coloradans or maybe other people from outside of the state to come here to enjoy that Memorial Year here in Cortez and Mesa Verde and also spend some sales tax dollars. So hence the logo. And you will read, I apologize, the proclamation is long. So this is a proclamation the state put out asking municipalities to sign on to. I changed it a little bit to fit Cortez.
Great. Thank you, Helen. All right, proclamation for America 250, Colorado 150, and Cortez 140. Whereas the year 2026 marks the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and whereas the year 2026 marks Colorado's 150th anniversary of statehood, and whereas the year 2026 marks the 140th anniversary of the city of Cortez's founding, and whereas the city of Cortez has contributed proudly and significantly to the history of our nation and our state, and whereas in 2016, the United States Congress established by joint resolution the America 250 Commission to encourage observance of the 250 years of our nation's existence, and whereas the Colorado legislature established the America 250 and Colorado 150 Commission with the passage of Senate Bill 2022-011, and the Commission has determined its mission and purpose is to celebrate Colorado by acknowledging the completeness of our shared history, honor that which makes Colorado unique, and strive towards a more perfect union. And whereas the city of Cortez has celebrated the shared history of the city and its people through events and festivals throughout the years, including but not limited to the celebration of a Historic Preservation Month in May each year. And whereas the city of Cortez recognizes the importance of keeping the history of Cortez and the surrounding area alive through education and cultural opportunities. And whereas it is essential to acknowledge that the history of this area extends far and beyond these anniversaries, encompassing the rich and diverse cultures and histories of indigenous peoples and community who have contributed to the tapestry of our city, region, state, and nation. And whereas it is appropriate that the city of Cortez engage fully with our past and looks forward to a shared future. And whereas the mayor and city council of the city of Cortez thus encourage the community to create and participate in programs that will commemorate the history of our city, our state, and our nation. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Rachel B. Medina, on behalf of the City Council and the City of Cortez, proclaim that the City of Cortez will fully engage in commemorative activities leading up to and during the stated length of observance, July 8th, 2025 through December 31st, 2026. And I and the members of Cortez City Council do hereby urge the residents of the community to recognize and support the opportunities to learn more about the history of our community through various events held throughout the next year. And do hereby urge all community members to take advantage of those resources available from the America 250 Commission and the America 250/Colorado 250 or 150 Commission and the City of Cortez to observe the anniversary by coordinating commemorative events, planning historical activities, providing opportunities for public discourse, creating new scholarships around Colorado's complete history, creating new educational opportunities, and by seeking opportunities for historic preservation. The City of Cortez pledges to uplift, support, and generate commemorative opportunities. Witness my hand this 8th day of July 2025. Rachel B. Medina, Mayor. Oh, jeez. Okay, thank you, Helen. Okay, we're going to move on to 5 on our agenda, public hearings. We have none tonight. 6 on our agenda is unfinished business. We have none, so we'll move on to 7, new business. 7A is selection of bid and award of contract for the 2025 rebid skate park repair project, presented by Casey Simpson, our Director of General Services.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council. The first item I'll be addressing with you tonight is the bid selection for the skate park. A little bit of background: the skate park has some significant distressed areas that are in need of repair, which make it unsafe and hard to skate on and to bike on. And additionally, there's some parts that could use some alterations to make it flow better. We put out, the first bid we put out had a lot of narrative about working with skate park professionals and some stipulations about the types of work that we wanted done, and we received no bids. After doing some research and talking to some contractors, it was clear that for us to get a bid, we were going to have to change the RFP a little bit to be more conducive to what contractors could foresee bidding on. And so we put the bid back out. With those changes, we received one bid from a company called Sycar at the bid amount of $110,146. The project is an immediate safety issue for the city and a source of notable public concern. It's imperative that a qualified contractor is selected to perform the work. I believe it should be done soon. And within a timeline that allows the work to be done before the winter. And so it can be done this year. The recommendation, or the fiscal funds for this project are available on the Parks Conservation Trust Fund account. And it's the recommendation of staff that Sycar be chosen to complete this work at their bid price of $110,146. Any questions?
Did they offer some sort of a warranty on their work?
I believe the standard warranty for their work is 1 year. And that's pretty common in concrete construction.
Out of curiosity, how long has our current skate park been in place, and has it required any work in the interim?
Creighton may have more historical context for that. Thank you, Creighton.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The skate park's approximately 20 years old. It was built, if I remember correctly, the year after the rec center opened. I want to say it was 2004. So it's in that range. And to my knowledge, we've had no additional repairs done to the skate park in that 20 years.
If it is customary to have a 1-year warranty, I'd love to see that in writing, because I don't want them to leave here, and because they're not an in-town company, so they leave and never see them again. So
I'll push for that.
Beyond the warranty, is there an estimate on the life cycle of the repairs and how long it'll extend the life of the skate park?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's hard to pin that down exactly. Additional context would be that when we reached out to skate park professionals and contractors nationally, their advice was a $500,000 plus fix, and it would be a total tear out rebuild. On the other end of the spectrum was some light patching that had a 1 to 2, maybe 1 to 3 year life expectancy that was going to cost approximately $20,000. And so this solution, I would expect, a 3 to 10 year lifespan for the fix, and priced kind of in the middle, well, closer to the lower end, but certainly not a comprehensive solution, but one that we can afford now that will address the safety concerns that are current and ongoing and concerning.
Okay, yeah. Oh, were you gonna?
I was just gonna say, I'm disappointed we only got one bid, but I'm glad to see this moving forward, because I've heard a lot from the skate community about how unsafe it currently is and what a valued resource it is for especially the youth of our community.
Yeah, and my question was about budget. Was this kind of within the range of what the anticipated cost, I guess, and budget that you guys planned for?
My understanding is that some Parks and Rec budget work had to be done with consideration to other projects that were scheduled for this year, and that it was approximately twice what we were hoping to spend.
Okay. Well, I do appreciate you making it a priority too, because we've heard from the skate park community quite a bit in the last few years, so
Casey, where's this company based out of?
Farmington.
It is, thank you.
And we did reference check, and I looked up past projects, and they've done, their company profile focuses on municipal jobs in the Farmington, northern New Mexico area. So, you know, I am pretty confident in their ability to do this project. Additionally, the Parks and Rec team, including Jennifer, met with SICAR to address the concerns of the skating community to make sure that they, being a unique project, that they'd be able to address those and it would remain skatable and safe and in the way that they wanted it to turn out.
I move that council award the contract for the 2025 skate park repair project and authorize the city manager to negotiate and sign a contract with SICAR LLC.
Second.
Motion made by DeHaven and seconded by Lewis.
DeHaven,
Aye.
Dobry,
Aye.
Randall,
Aye.
Lewis,
Aye.
Sproul,
Yes.
Medina.
Aye. All right, we're moving on to 7B on our agenda. Consider awarding contract for the 2025 water plant roof replacement project, presented by Casey Simpson, not only our General Services Director, but our Interim Director of Public Works.
Thank you. Earlier this year, we had inspections done on all the city roofs. At that time, it was discovered that there were multiple holes in the water plant roof that resulted in water seeping through the roof. This wasn't immediately detected because there's a concrete roof under the membrane. But what was concerning is that water was getting under the membrane, settling there, and deteriorating all the insulation and other components of that roof and would lead to eventual failure. So we quickly put this bid together to get the problem addressed quickly. We got a lot of action on the bid, which we love to see. There were, I think, 6 bids, and most of the bids were in the $100,000 to $110,000 range, with one bid that was significantly lower. We did select one of the bids that was put forth by PRQ Top Line. It was a middle-of-the-road bid that we found pretty competitive, and the local vendor preference was applied. Monies for this project are budgeted for in the water fund capital projects account, and the city staff, including representatives from Public Works and General Services, recommend that PRQ Top Line be awarded this bid at their bid price of $100,747.13. Pending any questions.
Madam Mayor, I move that council award the 2025 water plant roof replacement project to PRQ Top Line LLC, DBA Top Line Exteriors, and authorize the city manager to negotiate and sign a contract with the company on behalf of the city.
Second.
Motion made by Lewis and seconded by Dobry.
Sproul,
Yes.
DeHaven,
Aye.
Dobry,
Aye.
Randall,
Aye.
Lewis,
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. Thank you, Casey. All right, we're going to move on to 7C on our agenda, ordinance number 1341, Series 2025. Council will consider approving on first reading ordinance number 1341, Series 2025, an ordinance approving the amendment to the city attorney's employment contract and fixing the city attorney's compensation effective June 30th, 2025, and set for public hearing and second reading on July 22nd, 2025. Presented by Drew Sanders, City Manager.
Yes, Mayor and Council, I'm presenting to you on first reading this ordinance for compensation for Mr. Coleman to provide city attorney services to the city of Cortez. This is essentially his 2-year anniversary of employment. He started on, entered into a contract with us on May 25th, 2022. At his 1-year anniversary, he did not seek an increase, so he's gone 2 years now without an increase. And having done the salary study, this proposed new salary of $174,342 places him squarely on that salary scale. So I present that to you for first reading and request that you pass.
Okay, any comments or? All right, yeah, I mean, I guess we gave Pat or Attorney Coleman a review and goals, and one of the 2 big goals we set for him are updating our charter and updating our code and ordinances. Right, and
I would like to make one comment. He was put on a scale of comparing himself to other attorneys in the state, and he is nowhere near the top of that list. And bringing him up to what we did is still putting him on the lower spectrum of payments. So I think we're getting good bang for the buck.
yeah, I think attorneys are expensive, but they save you a lot of money in the long run.
I agree, and I think that's where the employment study has really helped us tremendously to see where our employees stand, and those that are below that level, we need to bring them up.
I move that council approve on first reading ordinance number 1341, series 2025, an ordinance approving the amendment to the city attorney's employment contract and fixing the city attorney's compensation at $174,342, effective June 30th, 2025, and set for a public hearing and second reading on July 22nd, 2025.
Second.
Motion made by Randall and seconded by Sproul.
Sproul,
Yes.
Dobry,
Aye.
Lewis,
Aye.
DeHaven,
Aye.
Randall,
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. All right, we're moving on to 7D on our agenda, ordinance number 1342, series 2025. Council will consider approving on first reading ordinance number 1342, series 2025. An ordinance amending chapter 18 of the City of Cortez Code of Ordinances regarding juvenile sentencing, underage possession of tobacco, underage possession of marijuana, and possession of drug paraphernalia, and set for public hearing and second reading for July 22nd, 2025. Presented by,
Be me, Mayor.
okay, City Manager Drew Sanders.
Yeah, good evening to council. I'm standing in for our city attorney who is ill this evening. So again, presenting this to you on first reading, an amendment or a possible amendment to Chapter 18 of the Cortez City Code, which contains contradictory regulations concerning the prosecution, sentencing, and incarceration of juveniles, and including persons who have reached the age of 10 years of age and under 18. So it is for those people 10 years old to 18 years old at the time of the alleged offense. So this Chapter 18 of the code also contains regulations concerning, as the mayor mentioned, underage consumption of or possession of marijuana, and applies to defendants who aged 18 to 20, but not defendants who are under the age of 8 years old. So this is basically an update to the code. Judge Padilla is here. Should there be any questions on first reading? If not, we will be prepared to provide you a more thorough brief at the second reading next meeting.
Okay, great. Will you, I guess Judge Padilla, will you be at the second reading when we have public comment?
I will, and I'm here now if there are any questions as well.
Okay. I guess, do you feel comfortable with what's being presented?
I do, and to provide a little context, part of the intention is to really give more tools to law enforcement so that they can choose what essentially level of judicial intervention they think is appropriate for the youth offender, for the juvenile. So right now, almost all those kids are getting written into district court, into juvenile court, which is a higher level of intervention, whereas perhaps they've just had a vape pen at school. And so this would allow law enforcement to say, well, this is your first offense. Perhaps municipal court might be a better fit for you, as opposed to putting them in the same courtroom with youthful offenders that are engaged in much more significant criminal activity, right? So a basic concept of criminal justice is you don't want to put low-level offenders next to really serious high-level offenders, right? So if we have a young person that has a vape pen at school, one theory is you don't want them in the court with the district court offenders where they might be involved in a drive-by or drug trafficking. And so the idea is to give law enforcement the option to funnel some of those young people into our court instead of requiring them all to go into district court. And then the strange thing, our code as it currently is, if you're under the age of 18 and you possess marijuana, you cannot be written into municipal court. But if you're between the ages of 18 and 20, you can. It's just strange. So this just clarifies that anyone under the age of 21 that possesses marijuana could have a case in our court. So it's just sort of a clarifying portion of the ordinance.
I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to give it to you anyway.
Sure.
If they're 15 years old, they have to have a parent there. Is that?
If they're under the age of 18, they must have a parent with them at all times, or a guardian. If they live with their grandmother and she has custody, then that person has to be there.
Is there any accountability on the parents' part if they do not show up?
So there can be. I would have to do a little more research into municipal court's ability to issue a warrant for a parent when a youth fails to appear. I think that I believe that it is possible, but I would want to research that a little bit more to be clear. But no youth can appear in court, in municipal court, without a parent or guardian.
Judge, you mentioned that in your opinion, this gives law enforcement much greater ability to determine sort of which court the juvenile is going to be seen in. Right. Can you expand on that a little bit for me? I have a very limited knowledge of that.
That's not a bad thing. And so essentially, let's say that if law enforcement has caught a young person with marijuana 3 times, they may say, hey, we're not going to send you to municipal court again, right? It gives the law enforcement officer the option to say, I'm going to send you to district court, which is a higher level intervention. You might be on pretrial services. You may be required to do drug testing. There's going to be someone monitoring you, whether you're going to school, sort of like higher level supervision. Whereas if it's a young person that maybe it's their first offense, and they're cooperative, law enforcement may say, hey, municipal court might be a better fit for you. It's essentially the penalties available in municipal court are lesser than what would be available in district court. And district court is just a bigger process in general, but especially for a young person. It's going to be a busier docket. There'll be more attorneys, and again, people involved with our higher level offenses. In municipal court, you're not going to have a juvenile here for drug trafficking, right? They're going to be in district court because that's a much more serious offense. This is our lower level initial intervention with the intention of hopefully deterring them from continuing down the path that has led them to being court involved. So it would be up to law enforcement to decide, which it is in all of our cases. They decide which court they think is the best fit for the offense.
So who decides?
The police officer.
The actual arresting officer?
Chief Brock is here. He's nodding his head yes. I'm sure there's some guidance that comes from his office, but that's in the discretion of law enforcement. We'll let him maybe answer.
We will have some parameters, but yes, it's officer discretion on where they go. Typically, they start out, first offense goes to diversion. I contacted the diversion officers, and they were thrilled with the idea that instead of going to diversion, that they could go to municipal court and get started that way. If they have repeated offenses, even a second offense would go to municipal court. After that, we might think about moving back to the county courts.
Guide them, your officers, when they are making this decision, or is it strictly on an individual, whoever the arresting officer is?
we give them parameters to work with, but it's their discretion at the time. You know what, we're not seeing what they're working with at the time. It may be a person who has got all kinds of remorse that you see that I don't see from the bottom, from my desk. Or it may be a person who's completely out of control, again, that I don't see from my desk. So that officer on the scene determines the level.
Thank you both. All right, yeah, and then this is just a motion for first reading, and then we'll have the second reading for July 22nd, when can hear from the public and kind of ask and answer more questions.
I appreciate the clarity in this. I think it's really needed. So with that, if there's no further questions, I move that council approve on first reading ordinance number 1342, Series 2025, an ordinance amending Chapter 18 of the City of Cortez Code of Ordinances regarding juvenile sentencing, underage possession of tobacco, underage possession of marijuana, and possession of drug paraphernalia, and set the public hearing and second reading for July 22nd, 2025.
Second.
Motion made by Lewis and seconded by DeHaven.
Randall.
Aye.
DeHaven.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
Lewis.
Aye.
Sproul.
Yes.
Medina.
Aye. All right, we're moving on to 7E on our agenda, ordinance number 1343, Series 2025. Council will consider approving on first reading ordinance number 1343, Series 2025, an ordinance approving the Mana Elementary School building located at 300 East 4th Street for historic designation, to include this property on the City Register of Historic Resources and set for second reading and a public hearing on July 22nd, 2025. Presented by Helen West, our Community and Economic Development Specialist.
So again, this is just a first reading for the ordinance. I believe our applicant, Superintendent Tom Burris, will be here if we set this for a second reading at the public hearing. Mana School, as you probably all know, has sat vacant for a couple years now, and the school district is looking at what they could do with that building. It is eligible for historic designation at the local level, possibly the state level as well. Just as a PSA to anyone who owns a historic building, a local level designation is actually very, very simple. I mean, you have to go through historic preservation and council, but other than that, you still are eligible to do whatever you want to that property. If you change it beyond historic designation standards, we'll just take it off the city registry. That's it. That's all that happens. But it does, while your building is on that, you are eligible for historic preservation tax credits and different incentives, which are a little bit of a hoop to jump through. But if you want to jump through those hoops and get some tax breaks to fix a roof or a window, that is a possibility. It does take time, so it takes a lot of planning because of government. It takes a long time, but so that's just a PSA. Anyways, so they're interested in designating Mana as historic. That's it. And I'll talk a little bit more about it next time. But if you have any questions, I am here.
I move that council approve on first reading ordinance number 1343, Series 2025, an ordinance approving the Mana Elementary School building located at 300 East 4th Street for historic designation, to include this property on the City Register of Historic Resources and set for second reading and public hearing on July 22nd, 2025.
Second.
Motion made by Dobry and seconded by Lewis.
DeHaven.
Aye.
Lewis.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Sproul.
Yes.
Dobry.
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. All right, we're moving on to 8 on our agenda, draft resolutions and ordinances. We have none. City Attorney's report is number 9. Unfortunately, he's couldn't make it tonight, so we'll move on to 10 on our agenda, City Manager report.
Yes, Council, my report is as follows. As a reminder, the second Natural Medicine Special Workshop is slated for next Tuesday, which is July 15th at 6:30 p.m. in this room. Secondly, 4 council members and 3 city employees attended the annual Colorado Municipal League Conference June 23rd through 27th in Breckenridge. This is the flagship event of CML and offers multiple learning sessions and workshops to help elected officials and staffers of municipalities learn how better to serve their communities. This was an excellent event, and everybody I've talked to got a lot out of this, myself included. Next, the Park Village Housing or 7th Street RFQ received 4 quality proposals. They were reviewed by our panel and 2 were selected to be interviewed. The finalists are still under review and following the interview process, and we expect to make a decision to bring to council hopefully by next meeting. Next, our new city clerk, Danielle Wells, which is down here to my left, and you also met our new finance director, Randy Bailey, at the other side of the room. Both started on June 30th, 2025. We're really excited to have them, and both will be excellent additions to our leadership team. Next, I wanted to give a special thanks to Sarah Coffey for her service as the interim finance director, and also to Lynette Reese for her support of Sarah during that time. Their performance was very admirable and definitely praiseworthy, and I thank them very much for their service. Lastly, I want to thank the Parks and Recreation Department as well as the Police Department for a safe and enjoyable July 4th event. Thanks to the Public Works Department for displaying our flags on Main Street and for the assistance with traffic control. And finally, a thank you to all staff members from all departments who supported this event. This was an excellent 4th of July. I don't know when we've had a better one. So thank you, Creighton, Chief Brock, and everybody involved on their teams to make this happen. That concludes my report this evening.
Thank you. All right, 11 on our agenda is City Council Committee reports. 11A is the mayor's report on the workshop. So we just had one agenda item on our workshop, and that was our discussion on marijuana regulations. We talked about distance, which is currently 1,500 feet from the door of a marijuana facility to the nearest property line of schools, daycares, et cetera, and then door to door to other establishments, and then signage regulations. We are going to continue this discussion potentially in a month when we also talk about consume on-site proposals. And then general council discussion, Councilmember Lewis brought up kind of recording the history we have with companies where we accept their bids, just so we can track which companies we've worked for and how well those projects are going, and kind of hold them accountable and make sure that we remember that the next time we put out a bid and they answer. All right, we'll move on to B on the agenda. 11B is other board reports. We'll start with Councilmember Dobry. Okay.
I missed the golf advisory meeting because I was at the CML conference, but I did hear water was the big issue. I think that's been addressed. It's been watered heavily and is greening up considering the drought situation we're in. I'd just like to reiterate what City Manager Sanders said about CML conference. It was extremely enlightening and educational. As great as the presentations, I think the side discussions afterwards were just as important. And I was privileged to watch our mayor, Medina, receive a plaque for 100 hours of training through CML. And may not sound like much, but when you looked at the individuals up there, the short list, it was quite an accomplishment. So congratulations.
Thank you, Bob. No. Board report? Okay. And then I'll just comment too on the conference. I think this was my 4th or 5th year going in a row. Always such a great conference. It's great to see all the other municipalities across the state, and then it's just a great reminder of how wonderful we have it here. We've got incredible staff, great council. We're making good decisions, and I just feel really blessed that we're in the place we are. So, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to 12 on our agenda, executive session.
I move that City Council go into executive session for the following purposes: discussing the possible acquisition or purchase of real property by the city pursuant to CRS Section 24-6-4024A, and 2, determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiation, developing strategy for negotiations, and/or instructing negotiators concerning the possible acquisition or purchase of real property by the city pursuant to CRS Section 24-6-4024E.
Second.
Motion made by Dobry and seconded by Lewis.
DeHaven,
Aye.
Sproul,
Yes.
Dobry,
Aye.
Randall,
Aye.
Lewis,
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. All right. Thank you all for being here. It is still July 8th, 2025, and the time is 8:46 p.m. The executive session has concluded and council has reconvened in an open session. Those persons participating in the executive session were myself, Mayor Rachel Medina, Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Spruill, and council members Lydia DeHaven, Bill Lewis, April Randall, and Robert Dobry. Also participating was City Manager Drew Sanders. No adoption of any proposed policy, position, resolution, rule, regulation, or formal action occurred during the executive session. If any member of council or a member of the public believes that the subject matter of the executive session was not statutorily authorized, or that the discussions that occurred in executive session strayed from the announced subject matter, please speak up now. Seeing none, we will now move on to the next agenda item. Okay. Next agenda item is 13, public participation. Seeing no one from the public in our audience, we'll move to 14, adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Madam Mayor, I move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Lewis and seconded by DeHaven.
Randall.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
DeHaven.
Aye.
Lewis.
Aye.
Spruill.
Yes.
Medina.
Aye. All right, thank you. I hope your first meeting with us wasn't too bad.
Yeah, I think it went okay. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how the minutes go.
All right, good night, everyone.